Okay, so now we're going to look at religion and modern society. Religion doesn't play a big role in the everyday life of most Japanese people today. Japan, in fact, is not a particularly religious nation. Now, you might think it is if you were to ever visit the country because you're going to see Shinto shrines and Buddhist temples in almost any place that you go. The average person does follow religious rituals at ceremonies like birthdays, weddings, funerals, and religious holidays. They will visit shrines or temples on New Year's Day to pray for good fortune in the coming year. But the way that people in Japan engage with religion is very different, and the role it plays in their life is the key difference than, say, a country like the United States, particularly with people in the U.S. who consider themselves religious. So these are some of the ways that we're going to look at Shinto in society: festivals, life events, and religious architecture and sites. So, Matsuri, this is the Japanese word for festival. Japanese people participate in many national and local festivals throughout the year. Most of them have a religious background, either Shinto or Buddhist, even if some of them are secular in nature today. Many Shinto festivals originated from earlier Shinto rituals, such as the planting or harvesting of rice. Throughout the year, towns and villages will hold Shinto festivals, some that will last for several days. They all have their own local flavor. Remember, we talked about earlier that one of the key facets of Shinto is the emphasis on the local community. But even with this local flavor, there's going to be similar features from one town to the next. Lots of energy, lots of food, and big celebrations. One of the things that you'll see at a Shinto festival are these portable shrines and floats, and we're going to look at some real pictures in the next coming slides, and they'll have the image of a local kami, and they'll parade them through streets with drums and flutes and other kinds of music. Some of them are portable shrines that they carry on their shoulders. Others are larger floats that they actually tow through the streets by pushing and pulling them on carts with wheels. And then there's going to be a lot of crowds there wearing summer kimonos made out of cotton. These are called yukatas, as opposed to traditional kimonos that are made out of silk. And here we have a picture of the Gion Matsuri in Kyoto. This is the largest and most famous in Japan. And if you'll look at these gentlemen on the left side, these are yukatas, the summer kimonos that are made out of cotton. And these are some of the larger floats that are actually towed through the streets on carts with wheels. These are too big to be carried, like some of the more smaller portable shrines can be. And here it's just a hodgepodge or a collage of pictures of the Gion Matsuri, some close-ups of some of the floats there. And again, you can see the ladies in this top middle photograph wearing their yukatas, their summer kimonos that are made out of cotton. The Gion Festival is actually over 1,000 years old, and it's associated with a local Shinto shrine. It doesn't just last days, it lasts for the entire month of July, and it culminates in a parade in Gion, which is Kyoto's geisha district. So again, you've got the large floats, the portable shrines, the spectators wearing their summer kimonos called yukata. Now, like in most Asian nations, rice is a staple in the Japanese diet, and the Japanese are really particular about the rice they consume. They're also very protective of their domestic rice market against other cheaper markets in Asia, particularly those from Southeast Asia. And family farms, family rice farms are still integral not only to the culture of Japan, but to the economy of Japan as well. And as we mentioned earlier, the planting and harvesting of rice is associated with Shinto festivals. So you can see the festivals here, and the the photograph in the top right, that would also be one of the shrines, the local community shrine. Now, how Japanese celebrate life events reflects the syncretic nature of Japanese religious traditions, and we're going to look at two: weddings and funerals. Wedding ceremonies are typically Shinto in nature, and below is a picture of the Meiji Shrine in Tokyo. This is not only the most important shrine in Tokyo, it is one of the most important in the entire country. So if you ever get a chance to go to Japan and you are in Tokyo, you absolutely must go to the Meiji Shrine on a Saturday or a Sunday, and you will be guaranteed to see a Shinto wedding procession like the one you're looking at here, because there's one every hour. To kind of borrow a baseball analogy, there's another procession after this on deck, getting ready to come up when this one's finished, and another one in the hole that's getting ready after the next one. So one every hour on the hour. These are just some close-ups. This orangey red color here is kind of a vermilion color. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later. I've been to Japan a number of times, and a Shinto wedding procession is definitely one of the highlights of all the things that I've seen in Japan. Now, in this video, you can't click and see the YouTube video, but your professor is going to have an actual PowerPoint or PDF version of this that she can send you or post as well, and you'll be able to click the video from there and watch this if you would like to. Now, some people will have a Christian wedding. It's really a Western wedding, but they call them Christian weddings. And people who have enough money will actually celebrate both a Shinto and a Western style wedding. And just like the Shinto weddings, these Western weddings take place in buildings where there's basically one happening every hour. The only difference is they tend to be in a multi-story building that can be 6, 8, 10 floors high, so there may be 10 weddings going on different floors at the same time. Now, whereas weddings are associated with Shinto, funerals are typically Buddhist. Shinto ceremonies are common in both birth and marriage, but in the Shinto religion, death is considered a source of impurity, so Buddhist ceremonies are used to deal with issues of mortality. We want to kind of finish up today by looking at some religious architecture and sites, and I've juxtaposed a Buddhist temple on the right against a Shinto shrine on the left, and to the untrained eye, you might think, well, what is the difference? I can't really tell the difference. If you have a chance to spend some time in Japan, more than likely you'll be able to recognize the difference, and I'm going to talk about some of the differences in the next couple of slides. Buddhist temples tend to be larger and more elaborate than the typical Shinto shrine. However, some of the more famous Shinto shrines are indeed large and extravagant. And some of you may have seen pictures of Buddhist temples before. In Japan, Buddhist temples are somewhat understated compared to the ones of Chinese or Korean origin. The ones in Japan tend to be more earth tones, where the Buddhist temples in China and Korea tend to use a lot of bright colors like red and gold and green, although you will find some in Japan that are colorful as well. And here's an example of a Shinto shrine on the right that is more subdued in its color palette, and then one on the left that uses that bright vermilion color that I was telling you about. So anytime you see this color in Japan, this is not going to be a Buddhist temple. This will be a Shinto shrine. The temples, like I said, some of the temples in Japan may indeed use bright color palettes like red or gold, but this vermilion color is reserved for the Shinto shrines in their gates that are out in front of the shrine. This gate that's out front is called the torii, and it's either going to be that vermilion color or it's going to be some kind of earth tone color, wood or stone. And We talked about purification being one of the rituals. Well, this is a purification trough that you would see at a Shinto shrine. And these are the guardian lion dogs that you will sometimes see out in front of shrines, although you may see them at temples as well. And here we've got the big vermilion color torii gate. This is just a smaller Shinto shrine, so you're not going to often see Buddhist temples this small. You may on occasion, but it's not uncommon to see Shinto shrines that are large, that are medium, that are small, that are even smaller than this. And again, we've got the guardian lion dogs out front. And just some close-up pics if you want to get a better idea what they look like. Sometimes they use them in ceramics, and sometimes they use them for tattoos. And not only do they have guardian lion dogs, but they have guardian foxes as well. And this is an example of a small Shinto shrine, and they can be located almost anywhere. The side of a road, on a mountain pathway, like this one. And here you've got the gate, the torii, which is made out of stone or wood, and then you've got the actual shrine itself, which has the vermilion color. So you've got kind of the contrast there. And we just want to finish up by looking at some major religious sites. Japan is a treasure trove of traditional culture, no matter where one travels in the country. And this is particularly exemplified in the religious architecture and sites. So while there are Buddhist temples and Shinto shrines at every turn, even in the cities, following are some of the more famous religious sites. This is the Ise Grand Shrine. This is where the sun goddess that I mentioned earlier, this is where she lives. So this is obviously the most famous shrine in all of Japan. And here's some other ones. I mentioned the Meiji Shrine. This is where we had the wedding pictures. And this is the Itsukushima, I'm sorry, I turned those consonants around. Itsukushima Shrine in Miyajima, which is outside of Hiroshima. This is considered one of the three most beautiful views in all of Japan, and you can kind of see why from here. Another picture of the Meiji Shrine. This is the big torii gate leading up to the Meiji Shrine. And here again is the Itsukushima Shrine at low tide, where people can actually walk out there. This is a short trip from Hiroshima. And while this is the torii gate, this is the actual shrine itself, which is one of the larger Shinto shrines in Japan. And then, of course, with the syncretic nature of religion in Japan, you see a pagoda in the background, which is typically associated with Buddhism. In Japan, deer are considered messengers of the gods, and this is one of the places where they have free reign in Japan. The other would be a particular district in Nara where a lot of the old temples are. So if you go here, you'll get to see lots of deer walking around, and they like to be fed, so there'll be little places where you can buy some snacks to feed the deer. And now you can see why this is such a beautiful site, considered one of Japan's three most beautiful views. And this is the Fushimi Inari Shrine in Kyoto. Some of you might have seen the movie Memoirs of a Geisha, where the little girl was running through here. This is beautiful because it's just like this, all the way up the mountainside. And then Nikko, a very famous religious site a couple hours north of Tokyo, that has a real hodgepodge of both Shinto and Buddhist architecture and sites. And this is the great Sun Buddha. He is in a temple in Kyoto, but this is where you can see the syncretic nature of religion in Japan, because the sun god is somewhat connected. The sun god in this Buddhist statue is somewhat connected to the sun goddess in Shinto. And lastly, religion at home. Here we have someone's home where they have both a Buddhist altar on the right and a Shinto shrine on the left. And that concludes our lecture. Thank you very much.